Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely stream deck. For more information about the stream deck, the link is in the description below.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round 12 of the AOR Hype Season 20 PCF1 League. We are here at the Sochi Autodrom on the banks of the Russian Sea as we take on the Russian Grand Prix as we begin to close out this season. A season that's, well, been a pretty wacky one. It's going to get even more wacky today as we have even more drivers showing up, which hopefully will give the spark that a circuit like Sochi desperately needs. Definitely not a fan favourite. This 5.84 kilometre circuit with 2 DRS zones and 18 turns isn't the most well received track on the calendar, but if anything can make this track somewhat entertaining as a racing spectacle, league racers can. And these 17 drivers, yes, 17 drivers, should hopefully put up a show tonight. My name is James Costello and I'll be one of your commentators for tonight's race. Joining me once again in the commentary box is my partner in crime, Jens. Welcome to Sochi, Jens. We've got a lot of unfamiliar names on our screens at the moment, and I don't know whether to be excited or scared.
Yes, indeed. A lot of new faces here coming up into the F1 League. So what we've done is that we've taken the whole of the F2 League and merged it with the F1 League to see what will happen. There's not that many rounds left in the championship, so it won't really mix too much up, but of course there are some talented drivers down in F2 that has come up here. There's now going to be battling with the familiar F1 faces, but lots of new drivers. I think we can be excited for this. We've had a couple of races now with a very low turnout, and now we're seeing a big turnout, and that's going to be very exciting.
Yep, not the first time we've had F2 drivers turn up from F2 and up to F1. I mean, the ones beforehand have all performed pretty well. So hopefully, these drivers can keep up and maybe even be even better, quicker than the F1 drivers. We'll have to wait and see. We obviously, most of them are unfamiliar to us. I think the only one that I actually remember is Hittinen. But apart from that, every single new driver, like Jakub or Kalachu or Bogin, Duza, there's a lot actually, Ben Q as well, they're all brand new faces to the F1 League, and hopefully they can have a good debut here at Sochi.
Yes, indeed. So 10 new drivers in the league, currently on board with one of them. So if we just run through the names that are joining up here in F1, coming down from F2, we have Bogin, who has effectively won the F2 championship. Then we have Hittinen, Soren, Kilachu, Dusa, Sinalp, Bailey, Daigoro, Sysand, and Ben Q, all joining up from F2, and they'll be coming up and racing for the rest of the season here in F1, hopefully giving us a 17, hopefully more man grid every single weekend from now on. But as I mentioned, on board with the effective F2 winner, he won 4 races and was on the podium in all except for 3 races. So he has some great pace, and there's some potential for him to come and stick a nose into the fight with the rest of the F1 guys. Certainly, the same can be said for Heitinen, especially as well. The same with Soren as well in 3rd place. But now, Borgen, his first time around the track, puts it in initially 3rd place, but then falls down to 4th as Heitinen sets a new fastest lap and a new provisional pole position.
Yeah, even quick, just quicker than Jan Fehler, and of course we know how quick Jan is in qualifying. Was very close to pole position last time out in Singapore, but was pipped to the post by the likes of Tom and obviously Padlo Fuentes, who ended up taking his first pole position of the season in the AlphaTauri, but unfortunately for him, couldn't convert that pole to win. Instead, it went to Tom. Of course, Tom, the championship leader, still here. As is Paris as well, and he's now just gone quickest. The 1:29.7. That's a pretty beefy margin to be out in front, although there's still half the field who haven't set a lap time. Interesting, Diagoro actually retired from this session. It looks like he's retired on track. Not really sure why the AlphaTauri has decided. Oh, he's crashed.
Yeah, I just quickly jumped on board with Brownie as he came through turn 1, where I saw that dot on the minimap was stopped. Looks like he came through turn 1, that small kink on the main straight, and lost it into the wall, lost a tyre possibly. But he was at least parked across the track, ghosted out. So I presume that he lost it into the wall. He might have hit the inside wall or just gone too far wide on the exit, gone into the wall and lost a tyre. A casualty here of Sochi. A mistake that's a bit easy to make in qualifying when you're trying to squeeze everything out of the car. Just go a bit too wide. Normally, it's not as dramatic as Diagoro made it, but you can lose it a bit into the wall, lose some time, maybe lose your front wing, or in an edge case, you can completely lose your front tyre and go out of the qualifying completely.
Yeah, Rush is one of those medium sort of track in terms of difficulty. It's not that difficult, but it's obviously very hard to master. But there are a few instances. Turn 3, for example, that very, very long left-hander can catch and has catched a few out. The middle sector especially is very narrow. Especially the final few corners as well. But apart from that, not too bad. As
Sounds like there are some connection issues of some sort. That means that it's all over to me now. It sounds like my lovely co-commentator has possibly lost his internet, but we're still here, of course. Currently looking at the drivers, we have Tom currently in 2nd place, just behind Paris there. Those two have fought in the championship all season, just pipping each other out to various pole positions and race victories. Currently, Tom leading the championship, coming into the pits after his first attempt. Looking like most drivers are in the pit after their first attempt. A couple of drivers coming out onto the track once again. Of course, it can be a very hard track here at Sochi. There are certain places where you can easily cut a corner or go a bit too wide and get your lap time invalidated or get a warning, and in the race get penalties for that. It's mostly in Sector 1 and Sector 2 that can happen due to a lot of low curbs and a lot of 90-degree corners that you're trying to cut as much as possible, since you aren't really losing much on the curb itself. But then when you go over it, you lose... you get a warning, and you can lose up to 3 seconds if you do it too many times in a row. Now on board with Bogan, as I mentioned, the winner of the F2 Championship. He was up there at the beginning of qualifying, mixing with the F1 guys and a couple of the other F2 guys. But now he's coming on, starting a new lap, just jumping on board with him here. He's coming in to turn number 2 after that first kink That's then turn number 2 comes through, then a quick jab to the left hand where you then begin that long sweeping left hander of turn number 3 that you take flat out for all of it, coming out of on the other side, braking hard into the left hander of turn number 4. Then it's into another 90-degree corner of turn number 5, jumping into sector 2. He is improving on his lap time, but there gets a small bit of oversteer coming out of turn number 5. Then a small kink, turn number 6, 90-degree corner, turn number 7, then a 90-degree corner of turn number 8, and a small kink of turn 9. They're all almost losing it, getting spun halfway round, but it looks like he's continuing. Then it's a 90-degree corner on to the back straight where he opens the DRS, second DRS zone of the 2 here on the track. Then he'll be finishing off the second sector in just a moment. There'll be a line, and he's still improving even though he spun himself halfway round. Then it's into 13 and 14, tricky section coming into here since it is off bank, trying to throw him off the track constantly. Through 15 and 16, two of the most challenging corners of the circuit. Then he'll be going through a quick dash down to 17 and 18, but he decides to abort his lap and come in to the pits. Very understandable, since he did lose a bit here and there, and going in, fueling up, getting a new set of tyres is the most sensible choice of them all here. Hidston coming across line for 4th place there, doing well. Of course, 2nd place in the F2 Championship, and already up there mixing with the other F1 drivers here. He is clearly showing that he has potential, although he's gone a bit too deep into turn number 2 there, outbraking himself and taking to the exit road. But he was up there mixing with the F1 drivers, so clearly showing that he has pace, and he is here to get some points and here to fight for the top positions, not just at the end of qualifying, but I'm sure that it will be the same at the end of the race. Quick look at some of the other drivers from the F2 Championship. Let's jump on board with who do we have out there? We have Kilachu on an in lap. They were 4th place in the championship, got a single win, stood on the podium once with that win, had 60 points in the championship, and was mixing in a battle for that 3rd place, and clearly has some pace, up in 2nd place, mixing with the rest, almost fighting for that pole position. But there is a bit of a gap up to Warren in 1st place. They're doing very well with a 129.2. So let's see what that will be able to evolve into come the latter stages of qualifying. Who else do we have out on track? We currently have Tom, our championship leader, but it looks like he has backed off on his lap time. At least backed off on his attempt. He'll be coming into the pits at the end of this lap. So let's see what he'll be able to do come the end of qualifying. Of course, just over 5 minutes to go. Plenty of things can still happen in this qualifying session. So let's just look out for that, and let's look out for what the drivers will be able to perform. Currently, Paris validating his lap time, as I mentioned early in this qualifying session, in places that it can be very hard to do so. Other drivers, we have Signal P, took 6th place in the championship, currently coming through the tricky 15 and 16 corners there, getting a nice exit, but ultimately coming into the pits. Let's see, any drivers out there currently about to set lap times. Looks like Dusa is currently on an attempt round on the track. Dusa currently down in 11th place, not that far up to Michael Tanitsa in the top 10, and if he dips it into the 129s, he can very easily mix for those top spots. It is very close up there, but they are very fast drivers up there. Dusa got 5th place in the championship, only competed in 2 races, but got a 4th and a 3rd position. So clearly showing that he does have some pace in places. So let's see if he'll be able to show that here in qualifying and what he'll be able to do in the race itself come that time now with 4 minutes to go. Most of the drivers in the pit, some drivers coming out for what will be their final attempt. You can't really get out and come back into the pit lane if you go out now. But it does look like some of the drivers are slowly making their way out onto the track, whilst others are still waiting in the pits, waiting to come out onto the track to set their optimal final lap time. Their dudes are coming across the line with a 1:29.822, going up into 6th place. So showing that they've got plenty of space there. Boggin as well, mixing in at the top. But now you can see multiple drivers coming out of the pits. Kind of look like Ben Q is out on track still, but it does look like that is an in-lap coming into the pits before they'll be taking to their final attempt around the Sochi Autodrom. Interesting to see with all the drivers is that there's only one driver needing to set a lap time, and that is FK Gaming down in 17th and last place. And of course Daigoro won't be able to really show the potential that they had. Unfortunately, went out of the qualifying session quite early on after that crash on the exit of turn number 1. But I'm sure that they'll try and make up for it in the race. FK Gaming down in 17th, waiting to see what he is able to produce come the end of qualifying. Further up the grid, we had Jan Fehler. He was on an attempt, but had to abort that due to an invalidated lap time. Coming into the pits, it'll have to be a quick pit stop. Quickly change tyres, quickly put some fuel on, or else he won't be able to make it out for another attempt with just about 2 minutes to go. It is really now that it is spicing up. It is now the drivers are coming out for what many like to call that final mad dash, where you put in your finest qualifying time, and where we see who will come out on pole position. And looks like the first driver who will be showing that is Warren, currently coming into turn number 2. So Warren there making it nicely through turn 2, coming into turn number 3. The sweeping left-hander before taking to the 90-degree corners of sector 2, where you'll see, I was about to see where you see lap times either flourish or fall apart, and then Warren goes a bit too wide and invalidates his lap time, and I'm not sure that he'll be able to make it round for another attempt. Who will be the next driver? Will it be Tom? Yes, it's Tom. Tom puts a purple in sector 1 into sector 2 now, coming through a couple of the 90-degree corners. We're seeing a couple of drivers retire from the session. Obviously, they don't think they can improve it much more on their lap time, wanting to preserve the car and preserve their tyres. But now Tom on the back straight, opening the DRS. He isn't as quick in this session as we've seen him in other sessions, although he's put it purple in sector 1 and sector 2. Can he carry it through into sector 3 and to the line as well? Let's see, into the off-bank section of turn 15. They're making it nicely through, doesn't spin the car round. Now in for the quick dash down to 17 before making it an even quicker dash to 18. The final left or right hand, the final 90-degree corner up to the line. He goes, improves into second place. He goes so incredibly close, almost pole position, but not quite. Further down, who will be the next driver? Will be Brownie? No, he's starting a lap time. It could be... that was the Ferrari of Christian starting a lap. Then it'll be Michael Tanita, invalidated his lap time. Sysant now, invalidating his lap time as well. Will be Paris. Yes, next driver is Paris. He's making his way onto the back straight as the checkered flag has fallen. It is now we'll be able to see the quickest lap times. No one will be able to take to the circuit and set faster lap times after this. At least they won't be able to start lap times. Let's see Paris now finishing off sector 2, puts it purple. Will be able to carry that speed through to sector 3 as well. through the first 2 corners of Sector 3. Then it's almost that sweeping corner up to, or sweeping section up to turn 15. Left, right, he goes. Now down to 17, passing the pit entry. Let's see, first right-hander, then it'll be the second right-hander coming up to the line, crossing it right about now. And he goes provisional pole position, 129.1. So Paris there up and challenging the rest of the drivers. Warren, will he be improving? He invalidates his lap time through the final corner, and it would have been close. I think he would have taken it if he hadn't invalidated, but he invalidated nonetheless. Brownie crosses the line, 12th place for him. Further down, Ben Q will be crossing the line, 14th for him. Then it'll be Kilachu, 3rd place for him. And then it'll be Christian, 6th place for him. And that's all the drivers across the line. But Paris takes pole position with a 129.1. Warren almost pipped him to the post. But guys, his lap time invalidated in the final corner. So it was so close. But unfortunately, Warren just wasn't able to carry it all through in the end. Now we're just waiting for Tom to finish off his lap there, trying not to improve his best as possible. And ultimately, he finished off in 4th place. So here you have your starting grid for the race that we will be seeing shortly. Paris on pole position. Warren, his teammate, joining him on the front row. Kilachu takes 3rd place, and Tom in 4th place on the 2nd row. Then after that we have Jan Fehler and Christian. Then Boggin, Dusa, Norbert Jakob, Heitenen, FK Gaming, Brownie Michaelson, it's a BenQ, Sign LP, Sysant, and Daigoro will start from 17th and last place. But a very nice qualifying from those drivers. Good to see that the drivers managed to, the F2 drivers managed to get a foot in the door and really managed to show the pace that they had in the F2 league, and really showing that they are here to fight and they are here to win races, and in with a fight for the well, not for the championship, but at least for some good places in the end. Of course, with about 6 rounds to go, or with 6 races to go, there are still plenty of opportunities to pick up points and plenty of opportunities to move up in the championship. Of course, the championship itself has kind of been decided pretty much, at least the drivers that will be finishing in the top spots, with Tom and Paris fighting that out at the top of the championship. There isn't really any doubt that they'll be up there come the end of the season, as the formation lap is getting underway. But I'm just trying to fix some issues I was seeing with the audio. I wasn't really seeing any game audio go through on the stream, but let's see if that is fixed now. If I just do this, yes, now there should be audio. So if we just jump back on to the game yet, let's see which tyre the driver has gone for. Of course, the top 10 has to start on the tyre they qualified on, and every single driver in the top 10 qualified on the soft tyre. But outside, they of course had a free choice of tyre. There you see FK Gaming, Brownie, Sign LP and Daigoro all choosing the medium tyre. So all but 4 drivers are on the soft tyre, which is pretty understandable. It is quite a durable tyre here at Sochi. It isn't really one that drops off the cliff immediately, and it is a tyre that can be run a couple of laps on. Of course, the drivers have to go 27 laps round the circuit, so there is plenty of time for a strategic shake-up with a penalty or with a crash here or there, maybe even a safety car at some point. But the drivers will be lining up on the grid to take for the 27 laps. Paris and Warren, the two Red Bull teammates, lining up on the front row, both of them hoping to run off into the sunset with absolute domination. But I'm sure the rest of the grid and myself would like to see a bit of another story from the drivers, but now all lining up on the grid. Let's see, as the final driver, Daigoro, files into his grid spot, and then the 5 red lights come on. 1 light to go. It's lights out almost for us, and there's a bit of a hold, and it's lights out for the drivers. There they go. Paris getting an alright start. Warren alright with him on the inside there, coming through turn 1. Behind there, some battling for 3rd place. And it looks like Warren is able to challenge a bit for 1st place in turn 1, but has to pull out of it. Kilachu on the inside of him, but unable to challenge there. Paris getting a poor exit out of turn 2, but Warren still wasn't able to challenge. Tom and Kilachu going side by side through turn 2 behind. Tom jumping up into 3rd place, coming through turn 4. Gets a bit of a squabbly exit on the exit of turn 4, but holds it nicely. Further behind, there was a bit of battling there. It looked like it was one of the Haas drivers. But Christian there in 6th place, battling a bit with Jan Fehler, holding position of the start right behind Jakob, and Bogging went side by side, and they're still going side by side. Bit of contact there, bit of contact with Duz up behind as well. That opens the door for FK Gaming, but he's unable to challenge into the latter stages of Sector 2. Now on to the back straight. Is Warren able to challenge for P1? No, he is not. What about Fehler or Kilachu for 3rd place? Both have to stay behind. Further behind, it looks like Dusa and Bogging are fighting into Sector 3, into turn number 15. They'll come now. Looks like Jakob has gotten the position there. Up into 7th place. He's gone here in lap 1. Right behind there, Dusa there trying to get up a couple of positions. He's lost one of the start, so he'd love to move it back up again. Fight back on Boggin and Jakob. That looks like there are some connection issues. Tom falling down the field, but that is not quite true. He's still up here in the 3rd place, right behind Warren, that is, in front of him. And he has Kilachu right behind him in the 4th place. Kilachu there looking to go for the move, but he is just a bit too far behind, unable to do so just now. Looks like the timing board has gone a bit haywire for a second, but just a bit further down the field we have FK Gaming right behind Dusa. He was maybe thinking of a move, but that has stabilized now, and he was unable to do so. First driver to fall for the time penalties will be Michael Tanitsa, down in 12th place. As we mentioned in qualifying, it can be a tricky track in terms of time penalties, and Michael Tanitsa is certainly showing that. Already on lap number 2, getting a time penalty, and clearly showing that he is a driver that has had challenges with that in the past. One race he did finish with about 29 seconds of penalties. So, Michael Tanitsa not really getting the start of the Grand Prix he would have wanted. But a driver getting the start that he would have wanted is Paris out in 1st place. He has been able to get a bit of a gap in 1st place and set the fastest lap on 2 occasions now. But right behind him there is battling forming between Tom and Kilachu. Kilachu almost running into the gearbox of Tom into turn number 2, through turn number 3, none of them able to go for the moves ahead. Tom also and in the back of Warren for 2nd place, but again unable to go for the move. These drivers are driving nose to tail here at the front, and none of them really able to form any gaps properly yet. They're just there to be in each other's mirrors and wait for a mistake and be able to pounce on that. But look how close Tom is to Warren there now on to the back straight. He has the DRS open, so does Warren, because of Paris in front. Paris hasn't been able to pull a good enough gap there. Tom isn't close enough to go for the move into turn 13. Turn 13, one of the more popular overtaking spots, because if you get past it, you can be relatively safe before the straight, and maybe you can get a bit of a gap sized up before you come on to the start-finish straight and the DRS that follows with that. But now, look how close Tom is to Warren there. Warren already going defensive before turn 1, now coming through the kink. Tom has the DRS wide open, Warren has lost it of Paris, and now in the slipstream with the DRS. Tom takes to the left-hand side, it is the outside line. Warren there, oh, he went deep and almost cut Tom off there, just shut the door on him, but Tom was able to stay behind without any issues and without losing his front wing, and Warren went through the corner, no problem whatsoever. Behind it looks like Fela had a bit of a problem. He's lost the position to Kalachu in 4th place there, so Kalachu now back fighting with Tom, trying to size up the move once again. That small battle that Tom and Warren had has put them onto a bit of the back foot in terms of catching after Paris, but also they formed a bit of a train behind them. You can see Kilachu here still holding on, and the same is Fela there, as Warren went a bit deep into turn 13, but Tom right behind wasn't able to go for the move, although now he is going for it. He went for it into turn 15, just on the exit of 13, and then through the section there into 15. But then Warren defended well, and Tom lost a bit of time. He was unable to fight that, unable to get the move done. Now with the DRS, looks like he's had a bit of an issue on the exit of turn 1 there on the outside. There's a VSC! So, on the exit there of turn 1, as Tom was about to overtake, virtual safety car was deployed, and I believe that is for Sison in P16, had an issue on the exit of the final corner. DNF had to go out of the Grand Prix, and that has spawned a virtual safety car. So the Grand Prix, just for a second now, has been neutralized. The drivers have to watch out for not to speed under the virtual safety car. Dagoro really the only driver who will be able to capitalize off this virtual safety car with a pit stop, but he had already gone into the pits. He might have acquired some front wing damage on the start there, but now we're under green flag conditions again. Warren not getting the best start of that, and here comes Tom just easily with the DRS taking second place there. Nice and easy done from his side. Same happens with Heitzen and FK Gaming. They're going side by side into turn 13, into turn 14 there. Michael Tanitsa there getting his nose into that fight. Brian didn't get the best exit of turn 13, and then Michael Tanitsa just put his nose in there, was unable to hold the position. But what happened on the restart was that FK Gaming, I believe, did get a drive-through penalty, and look at this, on lap number 6, he has to come into the pit lane, reduce his speed to 60 kilometers an hour, and go through the pit lane. But further up ahead, there is battling going on for that third place. Kilanchu was on the attack on Warren, but was unable to finish it, and Warren was able to defend that first place. Now right behind, you'll have Jan Fela for 4th place, but Fela isn't able to go for the move through turn number 3. He was trying though, but didn't have the grip on the outside. Both drivers are on a worn set of soft tyre, so no real tyre advantage could have been gained there. So it's simply just the ability of downforce, but FK Gaming was unable to hold it. Now there is a bit of a train forming up behind Warren. Tom able to pull a bit of a gap there. Kilachu overshooting into turn number 10 there. He was sizing up a move down the straight, but he's now unable to go for it due to that small lockup or major lockup into turn 10. Christian and Failer behind was hoping they could capitalize off that, but they unfortunately can't. They are a bit too far back. But now it looks like this train has calmed down a bit. No overtaking really happening. They are so close, almost running front to tail the whole time round the lap. And now coming on to the start-finish straight. Let's see if any of the drivers will be going for an overtake. Looks like Kilachu might be thinking about it. Warren will have DRS though on Tom. So let's see how much overspeed Kilachu can get. If he's able to get enough to go for the move into turn number 2. No, he is not. What about Failer behind or Christian? Or Jakob now. He's joined in with this fight as well. Same with Boggin. All catching up to this train, but no one able to go for any moves just yet. And all following each other through turn number 3 nicely there. That sweeping corner. Not really been too much of a challenge for the drivers today. But stuck in that dirty air when these tyres will be falling off. That can be a dangerous spot. So I'm sure some of the drivers at the back of this train will be hoping they can make their way out of it as soon as possible. So up ahead in the train we have Kilachu right on the back of Warren there. Kilachu really struggling with Warren's DRS. Warren getting the DRS off Tom. Meaning that Kilachu, even though he might have a bit more speed at times, isn't able to get up and challenge for third place due to that speed advantage. But further back in the train, there might be something forming. That's just Jan Failer coming in to the pits on this lap, on lap number 8. Clearly trying to undercut the competition around him. Let's see what tyre he decides to pull on as we just keep an eye on this fight now. Kilachu deciding to go for the move on Warren there. They're neck and neck into turn 1, going side by side. What about through turn number 3? Will they go side by side? It looks like Warren is able to defend nicely there. But Kilachu still able to hold on into turn number 4. Maybe going for the move. No, 6 behind for now. And there he gets a bit too much speed, gets too eager on the throttle, spins round. And I believe that he has lost quite a bit of his front wing. Yes, he has. So he just got a bit too eager on the throttle, lost it in the traction zone, and went into the wall, losing quite a sizable amount of his front wing. And that surely must have lost his challenge for third place. They're due to their spinning on the exit of that is turn number 7. Luckily for him though, it doesn't look like he's gotten any damage off of that. He's able to carry on no problem. There you saw Kilachu just getting overtaken by Michael Sinitsa. You can see how much he's struggling with that missing end plate of his. So Kilachu really showing how treacherous this track can be when you're just going around and in a fight and just trying your hardest to get past the driver in front. And now we're seeing the pit stops happen. We saw Jan Failer go on to a set of those medium tyres, but most of the drivers in that top fight coming in to the pits all strapping on the medium tyre, it seems. Let's see where they will filter out. Warren still in the lead of this train. Christian will be behind him, although saying that, looks like Jan Failer has been able to undercut this train and come out in front of Warren there. Warren just peeling out of the pit lane right behind Jan Failer. So Jan Failer do well to capitalize off being a bit further down that small train and then being able to just undercut them and run in some clean air. And actually I'd completely missed that in the process. In the lap Warren came into the pits, he did pick up a 3-second time penalty as well. At least I believe that is. Yes, it is a 3-second time penalty. So Warren, even though he's in this fight now, he'll be a moving chicane because the drivers right behind him will know that he has a penalty, and they'll know that they'll get past him no matter what. So the drivers will be frustrated because if he gets past Jan Fehler, he won't really do much, and Fehler will be even more frustrated if he tries to fight. So Warren completely or almost ruining his race already on lap 10, unless any of the drivers around him gets a penalty as well. But now let's just keep an eye on where the drivers here come out of the pits. Harris there, still at the top for now, of course not in the lead due to the drivers that starts on the medium tyre. They're still going on. You can see that behind as Warren is looking to go for the move there. 3 wide into turn number 2 there. Tom came out of the pits just in front of Jan Fehler as he was in the fight. Now 3 wide through turn number 3. Christian down the inside into turn number 4. He'll be round the outside. Jan Fehler, they touch a bit. Jan Fehler round and Warren hits him as well. Warren lost a bit of his front wing and it looks like Jan Fehler got out of this without any damage. But they were side by side down the straight, Warren and Fehler, and then Tom coming out right in front of them, and then they getting slowed down. Christian seeing the opportunity to dive it down the inside through turn number 3, and then into turn number 4. He was on the outside, and then just hit him, cut across, and Jan Fehler spun round into the path of Warren. Warren couldn't do anything, and there, just into him, he went. Looks like Jan Fehler came out of this unscathed, except for the positions he lost. But Warren lost his front wing and will most likely have to come in to the pits once again. But a bright side for at least one of the Red Bulls is that Paris out in front after his pit stop, 2.9 seconds down to Tom in what is provisionally on net second place. And here Paris overtakes Sign LP for second place. Sign LP haven't come into the pits yet. We're only missing FK Gaming, Sign LP and Brownie to come into the pits before everyone has made their one-stop pit stop for the race. And it looks like if Paris can keep his nose clean and not make any mistakes, that he is on for a drive into the sunset. You can see clean air ahead of him, no real disturbances, so he can just get his head down and push as hard as he wants to. Further behind though, it looks like there's a fight for 4th place, or what is net second place, is forming with Tom ahead of this train, then Christian, Norbert Jakob behind, and Jan Fehler at the back of that train. Jan Fehler must be absolutely furious over that crash he had with Christian just a couple of laps ago, but it looks like he has been able to compose himself. He's been able to just get to the back of this train, able to hold on to Norbert, and able to just follow through, hoping he can pick up some more positions and hoping he can make his way back up to the position he was fighting for. Of course, it was quite close for that second place as Tom was coming out of the pits. Now Tom will be coming up to Sign LP. Sign LP on those worn medium tyres, so Tom not really having any issues, although he does outbrake himself a bit into turn number 1. But again, with the DRS and those fresher tyres, it is no real challenge for him at all. Now it will be Christian's turn to get past as soon as possible. Right there into turn number 5, he goes for it down the inside. Nicely done that move. Then it will be Norbert Jakob right behind. Christian didn't get held up too much. What about Norbert? I don't think he will either, but did catch him in a bad place. They're losing a bit of time actually, and has to go for a bit of a dive into turn number 10. But a bright side for him, he did pick up the DRS, so not all is lost for him. Just up the road, Christian also having the DRS on Tom, catching up a slight bit, but hasn't really been able to capitalise off any of that. Further behind, Heinsonen doing the same as the drivers in front, getting past a driver that hasn't been in the pits yet. FK Gaming does have a couple of penalties, the same as Michael Tanitsa behind him actually. Oh, he loses it there. Oh, and he's out of the Grand Prix there. Full safety car deployed. I complete luck that we caught that on the stream itself here. This will be huge for the medium runners. They'll be able to come into the pits on this lap. But he'd just been overtaken by Heitinen, and then on the exit of turn 16 they're just losing it completely. Into the wall he goes and out of the Grand Prix. He must be kicking himself absolutely. It is such an easy mistake to make, just getting a bit too eager on the throttle, but the amount of consequences it has. He's now out of the Grand Prix. He will join Sison as one of 2 drivers out of the Grand Prix already. And this will be huge, as I mentioned, for the drivers on the medium tyres, because they will get the equivalent of a free pit stop almost. They'll be able to capitalise quite a bit off of this. Let's see the tyres that the Brownie and Jakob or Sign LP will be going on to. Down the grid we had Warren go on to a set of soft tyres in the pits now. Like Goro also pitting onto a worn set of medium tyres. Interesting strategy from him. Could have been that, I believe that he started on that set. He might have been in the pits due to some wing damage here quite early on, and with a 4-lap old medium tyre set he should be able to make it to the end. Let's see what Brownie will strap on and where he will come out. Of course, this is huge for Brownie's race, of course, because he's capitalising momentously off of this. Straps on a set of soft tyres. He is confident that they can go to the end, although it is going to be a bit of a stretch. His tyres might be quite worn at the end, but nonetheless, going on to them. The same does a couple of drivers behind him that was in that train that I mentioned. Of course, Boggin, Failer, Sign LP, Heitinen, also going on to a set of soft tyres. So almost all the drivers coming into the pits going on to a set of soft tyre. So the four at the front, Paris, Tom, Christian and Norbert all staying out on their medium tyre. Dusa and BenQ doing the same, although BenQ came into the pits and I believe he did get a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so didn't really capitalise as he wanted off of that. Further down, Daigoro did come into the pits and changed on to an old set of medium tyres. But remember, this will also be good stuff for Daigoro, who's in the pits again. I'm not quite sure what's happening to his race. He's been in the pits a couple of times. This is his 3rd stop. So he's been in there a couple of times. Or actually 4th time, I'm sorry, that's the timing boards that update themselves. But this will be good for him as he can catch back up to the train and back up to the rest of the field, and maybe pick up a couple of positions. He's also now gone on to set of soft tyre. So the driver's now forming up behind the safety car. Paris had a healthy lead as it got called out, but this is clearly an instant that anything can happen in F1, and no matter how big of a lead you have, you can easily be shrunk by unforeseen events, and that is certainly what you can say this safety car was. FK Gaming just getting a bit too eager on the throttle on the exit of turn number 16. running into the wall and just having to park it across the track, and unfortunately losing his tyre and DNFing from the race. Now, while we wait for the safety car to end, we can maybe have a look at how the positions has changed over the course of the Grand Prix. We can see a couple of drivers have been able to have a good Grand Prix. A couple of drivers, of course, the one starting in the medium tyre that has capitalised off this safety car. It is Brownie, it is Ben Q, and it is Sign LP. They've all picked up. Oh, what's happening to Christian? Christian spun under the safety car. So, oh, has he lost? Oh, he has front wing damage as well. Christian, you're under safety car conditions. Oh my, just possibly trying to warm his tyres. Has gone into the wall somehow and will now have to come into the pits. Oh my, Christian. That's not good news. And this means that the likes of Brownie, Ben Q and Sign LP has now picked up 8 positions, capitalising well off this safety car, capitalising well off their quite cheap pit stop with the safety car. The drivers who've done well is Norbert Jakob in that Alpha Tauri. He's up into 3rd place, picking up 6 positions in the 15 laps, or 16 laps that we're on to now. Drivers who haven't had the best of races have been Warren and Kilachu. They've been unfortunate with collisions. They've lost quite a few positions. And Christian, of course, he was having an alright race, quite a quiet one, or relatively quiet one compared to others, but just spinning under the safety car, losing out, losing his front wing, having to pit now, and is at the back of the grid once again. So Christian had been doing well in the race, and then it all falling apart. A driver that has lost out a bit, but something that isn't too bad, is Bogan and also Jan Fehler. And Fehler, of course, was doing very well, but was then involved in some contact with Christian out of turn number 4. So some of these drivers really just being unfortunate casualties of what has happened right in front of them. Of course, Warren lost out a lot of places because he had to pit due to him being hit, or due to him hitting Fehler as he had been spun round by Christian, and there wasn't really anything that Warren could do. He was just coming through the corner as Fehler was spun around in front of him, and then it was simply just into the side of him. That's now on lap number 16. We're finally gonna be under green flag conditions once again. The safety car will be coming in at the end of this lap. That will mean that Paris from 1st place will be the driver with absolute command over the speed. The safety car peeling off into the pits right there in front. You can see Paris now in full control. He can gun it when he wants, but you have to remember the drivers can only overtake from the start finish line. But when will Paris go for it? I think he might have already having a good start there already. Tom not getting the best restart of the safety car. Norbert behind, maybe trying to capitalize, coming up into 2nd place, but he's also a bit too far behind. Further behind, Ben Q looking to maybe go for a move, unable to do so. Further behind, looks like it is a relatively quiet restart except for Warren going for the move on Michael Tsanitsa. Warren now on the inside there of Kilachu as well, so it looks like he's done a double overtake from 13th up to 11th there. Nicely done from him. Brownie up in 4th place. Will be looking to go past Norbert Jakob, but is unable to do so, not quite close enough. Baylor and Sign LP battling it out further behind there. Oh, Boggin going around the outside of Sign LP there. Nicely done. That move, just sweeping it around the outside, almost a dive from him. Up there already on the back of Jan Baylor already. Baylor, of course, also on the back of Ben Q. But Brownie now going for the move on Norbert Jakob for that 3rd position. He went first round the outside, turned to the inside, then he had the move done into turn 13. Same with Baylor there. Baylor on the outside of Ben Q, and I can only imagine the same has done with Heitzinen there. Heitzinen all now under pressure from Warren there. Warren diving it down the inside. First off Sign LP and then off Heitzinen there. Camera's not really wanting to work, but now Warren losing both positions again. Sign LP getting back at him, but Warren still fighting back. One of the drivers, or a couple of the drivers, peeling into the pits as it's just neutralized itself. Again, the battle further down there, but Warren still trying to go for the move. He's now down the inside through turn number 1 into turn number 2. He'll be down the inside there, braking later. Then Sign LP getting the position up into 8th place he goes. So Warren now, fantastic progress from about, I believe it was 12th or 13th on the restart, now up into 8th place, all on overtakes. Behind him, Christian has gone for the move as well, up into 11th place. And up ahead, Brownie was trying for a move just before, but was unable to do so. So drivers making fantastic progress. What about Christian now? Christian is quite close to Zanitza. Michael Zanitza losing it completely. And Christian can't really do anything. Another case of him being involved in an unfortunate accident there. He's lost quite a bit of his front wing. And as Michael Zanitza got spun around, he hit the rear wheel off him and just got spun around even more. So Michael Zanitza now down to 12th place. Christian up into 11th, but Christian with more front wing damage. At the front, Brownie is within a 5/10 of a second of Tom. Let's see if he'll be able to go for the move and get into P number 2, as the DRS has been re-enabled after the safety car. There, Brownie deciding to utilize it there, getting a momentum overspeed over Tom there around the outside on the straight down to turn number 2, getting the overtake quite easily like on the motorway. And what about behind Jan Baylor getting the move up into 4th place as well on Norbert Jakob, but will he be able to fight back to 4th place into turn number 4? Doesn't look like it. Jan Baylor doing well there on his set of soft tires. Now look at Boggin right behind down the inside of Norbert Jakob, but decides cleverly to pull out of that one into turn number 5, into sector 2 they went. Boggin deciding to stay behind for now, possibly waiting for the DRS zone down the back straight and trying to go for the move possibly into turn number 13. They're having to watch out he doesn't spin around, but keeping it in a straight line nicely and opens the DRS. So does Norbert on the car in front, but now coming from behind. Here he comes for the inside line. Isn't able to go for it quite yet, but Norbert locks up there. Boggin almost pushing him through, and now on the exit he goes for the move on the inside into turn number 15. Has the move nicely done there, but they touch a bit. But he's able to keep it in the straight line and gets the move nicely done on the exit of turn 16. Goes up into 5th place. Now Kittinen will be looking to maybe go for the move up into 6th place. The position that Boggin was in just a moment ago. Let's see. Norbert and Heitzinen both opening the DRS, but they're all actually for the lead. There has been a bit of battling there. Paris wasn't able to keep the lead, and with the DRS, Brown was just able to swoop around the outside, quite easily done as an overtake on the motorway. So Brownie without trouble just breezing into P number 1, taking the lead of Paris. Paris there struggling a bit on his medium tyres, and you can see that just that Brownie really still able to go full speed on those soft tires. Of course, only 7 laps to go, and even though Paris has only done 9 laps on his medium tires, he will surely begin to properly feel that they are worn in. And of course, the drivers on the soft tires haven't really done that many laps on their tires, even though it does say 5 laps. They've only done maybe 2-3 laps in clean air where they've really worn their tires. Otherwise, they've just kept them warm, kept them nice at a slow speed, and you can just see how Brownie is already pulling out a gap to Paris, almost a second down to him as they come on to lap number 21. And now behind, Tom is catching Paris a bit, and he has Jan Fehler right behind him. Although Fehler had been dropping off a bit. Yellow flag sector 3. I believe that is for Kilachu. Yeah, Kilachu has been around at turn number 15. Very tricky place. And it looks like that he has lost a bit of his front wing, having to come into the pits. So these drivers really proving that this can be quite a tricky track to drive round. Really easy to spin around and easy to lose bits of your front wing, and surely these drivers will have been hoping for more this evening, but they have proven that the Sochi Autodrom isn't a track you should take lightly, even though it does just look like a circle with a bunch of 90-degree corners. Now Tom for second place on Paris there. Paris really struggling on his set of tires. I'm wondering, does he have some front wing damage? No, he does not. So it is purely him struggling on his tires. He has Tom right behind him now, and Paris has completely lost the DRS to Brownie in first place. So let's see as they come on to the start finish straight. Let's see if Tom will be able to go for a move this time around. It doesn't look like it. I think he needs to be a bit closer. Although saying that, Paris doesn't have much speed, and the overspeed Tom has is quite big. Down the inside, no. Just deciding to stay out of it for now. Right behind them, they have Hittinen and Norbert there. Hittinen able to go past easily. Daigoro and Sign LP, the same happening behind. An overtake with the DRS isn't really the hardest thing down the start finish straight, but done it was nonetheless. Now you can see Tom on Paris. Tom is right behind him, ready to pounce on any mistakes. But the same can be said for Jan Fehler as well. Jan Fehler right behind him and wanting to get up on that podium. Of course, the top 4 doesn't have any penalties, and all looking like they'll stay clean to the end of the race. So it is all on track. It has to be decided. And you can just see how close Tom is to Paris in front there, and you can see how much Jan Fehler is keeping up and wanting to get past. And look at that, with about 3.5-4 tenths up to Paris, I'm pretty sure that he will be able to go for the move into turn number 1 or turn number 2. That will be now on to the second straight there, just before the second corner. Paris going defensive, but around the outside goes Tom. They're side by side into turn 1. Paris locks up, and then they go side by side. They actually go 3 wide through turn number 3. Fehler tried hanging around the outside, but was unable to do so. And there, Tom having to pull out of it. Fehler getting the position up into third place, but Tom fighting back, going back into third there. But Paris holding on in second place, and now Jan Fehler will be fighting once again for third place. Now down the inside, gets the position he was trying to get through turn number 3. As just through turn number 2 there, you saw Paris lock up, hit Tom on the outside, and they compromised both of their exits into turn number 3 and Fela thought, don't mind if I do, and he tried to go for the attack, but was unable to hold on to it. But the same could be said for Tom, who was on the outside of Paris, and then Fela just swooping it down the inside, but Tom just fighting back. But Fela was resilient and got the position in the end, moving up into third place. He's now chasing after Paris. You can see he's within that DRS range, but he isn't actually as close as he was just a moment ago. So let's see, down into turn 1 will he be able, or turn 2 it is. I keep confusing those two corners. Unable to go for the move this time around. What about Tom? Same can be said for him. Warren and Heitson now battling down in 6th and 7th. Heitson, the last couple of laps, has quietly making his way up the field as we've been focusing on the front of the pack. And as we just keep an eye on the gap with Jan, Fela and Tom and Paris, we can just have a look here at Heitinen in the Mercedes in 7th place. He's done well on that soft tyre, and just quietly been going through the field, quietly battling his way past driver after driver with the DRS on the straights, but it doesn't look like he will be making much more progress with Warren ahead. Although Warren does have a time penalty, Heitinen does not. Now, before we look at the battle for 2nd place, Tom close to Fela for 3rd, Fela close to Paris for 2nd. Fela on soft tyres, Tom and Paris on mediums. Fela on 10 lap old soft tyres, quite worn, but same can be said for those medium tyres, although Fela hasn't really had his tyres pushed the same way, with him doing most of his laps under the safety car. Into sector 2, he's close behind Paris, but does lock up into turn number 4, showing that he is struggling a bit on those tyres, and he has Tom right behind him now. Tom will be eager to get back on the podium, because right now he is losing points in the championship. Because Paris in 2nd place, Tom in 1st, he will be losing points right now, and he'll be hoping that he can minimize that as much as possible. But I'm sure that Fela will be fighting this with teeth and nails there into turn 13. Both of them locks up, but Tom isn't close enough to go for the move. With just about 2 laps to go, he is running out of time if he wants to get past and get past Paris as well. So I think the best he can hope for is either himself getting past Fela or Fela getting past Paris. But as it looks now, I don't think Fela will be able to get past Paris. And there, it's close. Looked like Fela had almost lost the DRS of Paris, but he just managed to stay within the range this time around. But he might lose it come the back straight or the next lap. And here comes Tom actually on Fela. Will he go for the move into turn 4? Fela going very defensive there. Tom trying to go for the switchback move, but isn't able to do so. And has to stick down in 4th place just for now. But he's showing the amount of speed he has behind them. Sign LP has gone for a spin in turn number 2 on the entry of turn number 3 there. Yellow flags being cleared about now as he's gone up to racing speed once again. But look at this, Fela has lost the DRS from Paris, so I think this will be the nail in the coffin in this fight, at least might be. So let's see, Fela knows it himself, he hasn't got the DRS open. So now to the inside, Tom goes into turn number 13. Will he outbreak himself? No. Fela trying to go for the switchback move, but is unable to do so. He has to stick behind, and Tom goes back up into third place. But you'll have to watch out for Failer if you can stay close, since there will be DRS on the main straight. The second to last DRS zone for the drivers are in this Grand Prix. The second to last DRS zone of round number 17. On lap number 27, Failer opens the DRS coming into turn number 2. Will he be able to get close enough to Tom? No, he will not. He'll have to stay behind, stay in fourth, stay off the podium. And here on the final lap, you can see Paris has regained some of the speed in his medium tyres, gone within a second of Brownie, but I don't think he'll get close enough. Behind though, Boggin has gotten very, very close to Jan Failer, and he might even go for the move on the back straight. But just have a look at the penalties now as we're coming to the end of the Grand Prix. You can see Boggin has 3 seconds worth of time penalties, and the top 4 has none. Actually, Boggin, the only driver in the top 7 with a time penalty. So, Boggin has been a bit of a naughty boy, cutting the track, going a bit too wide a couple of times. But this time round, he's hoping that he can get past Jan Failer, but Jan Failer did have the DRS off Tom as well, so he was unable to do so. And now they'll have 3-4 corners. It will be their final chances if they want to go for any audacious moves. They won't have any DRS on the start-finish straight. The checkered flag will fall just as they come through the final corner. What about Paris? He's very close. It'll be a run to the line. But look at that. Brownie takes the win. Paris takes second place. Tom comes home to take the third place and final start at the podium. Failer fourth. Boggin fifth. Heidsen takes sixth. Didn't get close enough to Boggin. Norbert takes seventh. Warren spinning across the line, playing a bit of a ballerina. Daigoro coming across in 9th, getting promoted to 8th due to time penalties. Michael Tanitsa will come across the line in 10th, but drop to 12th as Duza takes 10th. Sign LP will take 12th, Christian jumping up into 11th. Ben Q taking 14th, and Kilachu taking 15th. But there had been one more lap, or it had been a run to the line like in Brazil or Azerbaijan or anywhere like that, I'm sure that we would have seen a different winner this evening. But in the end it wasn't, and the checkered flag fell right after the final corner, and I'm sure that Brownie will be very happy for that. Brownie also named Driver of the Day, something I can very much agree with. He drove a very good race, stayed clean of any penalties, and stayed out in the, or was able to capitalize off a safety car, get into the lead a couple of laps after the safety car, and then just able to go out in that clean air and punch in some good lap times and take the win. Unfortunately, the fastest lap will go to Christian Sendel in 11th place, meaning that he won't get any points for that tonight. But here your final standings are: Brownie, after coming from 12th place, starting on a set of medium tyres, was able to capitalise off that safety car, came at about the perfect time for his pit stop. Then Paris behind, getting oh so close in the end. Had Brownie had penalties, had there been a run to the line, had there been a lap more, Paris might have taken it. Tom takes third place, had an alright race, jumping up one position. Failer takes fourth, also jumping up a single position. Boggin in fifth, one of the newcomers to the league, doing very well. The same can be said for Heitinen in sixth. Then Norbert in seventh. Daigoro, another newcomer, in 8th. Warren takes 9th, and Duza in 10th, another one of the newcomers doing very well. Then Christian, Sign LP, Michael Tznitsa, and Kilachu and Ben Q will all be finishing outside of the top 10, and we lost FK Gaming and Sysant in the Grand Prix. But nonetheless, it was a great race that we saw today. Unfortunately for my voice, I had to do it on my own. Only got the first bit of qualifying in before my dear co-commentator had to leave. But yeah, it was a great race. Nonetheless, these drivers always able to produce, even though Russia has been labelled as a bit of a dull track. It certainly wasn't this time round. But that will be all here tonight. It'll be all from the Russian Grand Prix and the Sochi Autodrom. We'll be back, hopefully both of us, for the Japanese Grand Prix next week, round number 18, and the second round with the newcomers, second round with the newest merge of F2, and hopefully we'll be able to see just as good of a Grand Prix. But until then, have a good one, stay safe, and goodbye.